Hey everybody, it's your life coach Tim Campbell, founder of IWillWillU.com. You know, me and my wife created IWillWillU.com based on one central value, that everyone deserves love and connection. We really believe that. And we feel that void, that need for love and connection through our marriage. We get that. In all of our lives, we try to avoid pain. We try to get pleasure in our pursuit of happiness. You know, so when you got together with your spouse, you got together based on the level of happiness that you projected them to bring you. You know, and as you start moving throughout the relationship, what you find is life hits you. And that was the case for me and my wife. Life hit us, and we lost some of that passion. We lost some of that that spark. That when I looked into her eyes, and my world lit up, and she looked in mine, her world lit up. We lost a little bit of that. And my concern is how do we lose that? I want us to be conscious of the things that we do every day that takes a little steam out of the marriage, that takes a little passion out of the marriage, that takes away that intimacy that we so long for. And that was the case with me and my wife, but what we found out is that our destiny is in our control. You know, if you're listening to me right now, me and you share something in common. And that commonality is that we both want to be happy. We live our whole life and make decisions based on the level of happiness that those decisions will bring us. And that's the way we enter into relationships. We make decisions based on our happiness. And sometimes those decisions take us away from our spouse, and sometimes it brings us together. But I want to make sure that you're consistent. We just entered into a new year. And as you're planning out the rest of the year, I want you to be conscious of the decisions that you're making. I want you to be conscious of the person that you are right now, and I want you to be thoroughly convinced that the future that's ahead of you will bring about happiness. But I want you to be so confident that you're willing to do things every single day to make sure that your future brings about the life that you want. Now, that doesn't happen by happenstance. This is not a lottery. You just don't pick a ticket and win. No, you have to work at this thing. You have to work at life, and life requires you to work at it. Okay, so you have to be willing to work. Now, if you look at my board behind me, what you see is point A. That's the now, right? And then I also have point B, which is future. But let's start with point A. I want you to ask yourself, what am I doing right now? Who am I? You know, what kind of values do I have? And, you know, what kind of person have I become? Okay, really think about that. Write down at least 5 things that identifies who you are. Not about your spouse, but you specifically. Because the power to be happy, guess who that lies with? That lies with you. You know, it doesn't really depend on your spouse. And a lot of times we put the blame off on others and put others in control of our happiness. In reality, all we're trying to do is escape the responsibility for our own happiness. And I want you to stop trying to escape. I want you to stop running from the power that's inside of you. The power that's inside of you has the power to take control. And it has the power to control your future. That's point B. So first of all, think about who you are as a person. What makes up your DNA? What gifts do you have? How do you characterize yourself? How do you define yourself? Now, the reason why I have you do that is because to get to point B, you're going to end up in 2 different places depending on who you are today. Now, point B has 2 different destinations. The first destination is the destination that you want. That's the future that you want, okay? But then there's a second destination for your future. That second destination is what you don't want. That's the future that you don't want. And based on the person that you are today, it's either going to bring you a future that you don't want or a future that you do want. Now, I'm not going to define what's the do's and what you do want and what you don't want. Only you can define that. But what I do know is that you want your future to be filled with happiness. You want your future to be filled with fulfillment. You want to feel happy and excited about what the future brings. Give you something to live for and compel you to do certain actions every day that leading you to a future that you want, not the future that you don't want. But what I found out is that, there's two things that really govern where we end up in the future. And that first thing is belief. It's what you believe. And I believe that there's two types of beliefs that all of us carry. The first type of belief is a conscious belief. That conscious belief is what you know that you believe in. For instance, I know that I'm African American. I know that I'm a male. I know that I'm married. Those are things that I know. I know my values. I know what I stand for. But then there's an unconscious belief. And that unconscious belief is what I wake up to every day, right? That unconscious belief is the person that really drives my decision making. If I'm in a crisis, that unconscious person wakes up in me, and that unconscious person has its own set of values. And I want to make sure that that conscious belief and that unconscious belief is aligned with each other, that they're not fighting against each other. For instance, I read the Bible a lot, and in the Bible there's a story of a man named Peter, and Peter had two beliefs. There was a conscious belief where he knew that he loved Jesus, right? He knew that he would follow Jesus through anything, and Jesus asked him one day, or told him about an event that Peter would betray Jesus, and what did Peter say? Far be it, Lord, I wouldn't betray you. He consciously believed that he would not betray him. But in the time of crisis, when everything blew up, Peter denied Jesus 3 times. And I believe there's a Peter inside of each of us. There's a side of us that says, well, I'll do this and I'll do that. But when you wake up in the morning, do you actually do that? Is there a contrary type person living inside of you? That when you say, I want XYZ for my future, but you do something else that delivers results that you don't want, are you aware of that person? And do you have that person under control? And then there's another aspect of what you want and what you don't want for your future, and that's called time. We get 24 hours in the day. Everybody does. We get 24 hours in that day, and we sleep between 6 to 8 hours a day. And then we work between 8 to 12 hours a day. And typically for every individual, they have about 4 to 10 hours of spare time every day. And I want you to ask this for this part 2. It's a belief, but the time, how are you allocating your time? Those are the 2 determining factors that tells me where you're going to end up for your future. The future that you want. Not the future that you don't want, but the future that you want. It depends on your belief in your time, how you're allocating your time. There's a story, I had a young man come to my house, and he said, Mr. Tim, I want to be a producer. And I started to ask this young man, he was real giddy about being a producer. And I said, how much time and resources do you put into being a producer? And the young man looked at me and he said, you know what? I spend all of my time in that passion. I really want to be a producer. I want to produce music. I'm very passionate about it. I said, okay, let me ask you something. How many hours have you spent today listening to music? He says, well, I've been busy. I haven't spent any hours listening to the music. I said, okay. I said, well, how many hours have you spent coming up with new beats and concepts in your own head? He says, well, I told you I've been busy. I've been to school and all that stuff. I haven't done that. I said, okay. I said, how many books have you read about producing music? How many videos did you look up on YouTube about how to produce music and your next steps and things that you should do? And we started to go through item after item, and come to find out he put 0 hours in that day towards the future, his future goal. And I asked him a realistic question, the same question that I'm going to ask you. How realistic, if you put 0 hours towards your future, how realistic is it that you'll end up where you want to end up? There's a contrary person inside of you that believes one thing and according to that belief, will allocate a certain amount of time in making sure that belief comes to reality. If you say that you want a happy marriage and a happy future and a great relationship, an amazing relationship, ask yourself, how much time am I investing in that dream? Because when it comes to point A, the now, and when it comes to point B, the future, they really equal each other. There's not a event that will happen that will change point A from point B. The future is now. In reality, when you look back over your life, and I'll just tell you, when I look back over my life, and there were certain goals that I set up for myself, there wasn't a day where I actually realized that I accomplished that goal. There wasn't a day where I actually woke up and said, man, me and my wife, we accomplished the goal that we set out for. But what happens is, over a course of time, it was just small incremental improvements that we made. We decided to stop doing this and to start doing this, start spending more time together, start communicating with each other more. You know, we decided to stop arguing. It's just little small things. When I get angry, to understand where those emotions come from. When I get fearful, frustrated, understand how to control those emotions, and practicing that on a day-to-day basis. Things that we didn't like, that we knew was destroying the relationship, we began to cut out. And so that's how we got to having a great relationship. But we had to allocate time to that. And we had to change our belief system. This is the one key that you can do. Whenever you know that your current behavior is destructive to your future or the future of your spouses, then that is a perfect setup for change. That is a perfect time to change that specific behavior. And so what I want you to do as we start to approach the rest of the year, I want you to have a mentality in your mind. Number one, to evaluate your beliefs, who you are today, and really start to dive into that and say, is that person the person that's going to bring me a compelling future? And if not, I want you to change that. And this is the way you change it. Every day, allocate time to the area of your life, the area of your marriage, the area of your relationship that is destructive, that is causing your compelling future to go off course. Every single day. Then I want you to find resources, books, videos, individuals, mentors that can sustain that new belief system. Everybody needs to sustain their belief system. They need to support it. Your belief is either getting stronger or it's getting weaker. And so what's going to cause you to wake up and do the things that you know you need to do to take control of that future? Your belief system is what you're going to wake up to. And so it's time to take that unconscious belief and make it conscious. Make a conscious decision every day that this is going to be my best year, this is going to be my best day, and it depends on what I do this very second, what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis that's going to bring me my happy, compelling future. Listen, this is Tim Campbell, your life coach. I'm just bringing you a few strategies on what you can do to have a happy, compelling future in your marriage. I'll see you in the next video.